I have a special announcement to make. The Q&A episode was so successful that we are going to devote a whole season answering just your questions coming up in the new year. So, click on the SpeakPipe link in the show notes and leave a voicemail with your name, location, and question, and it could be used in its own upcoming episode. Start submitting now through December 20th 2025. I have also been receiving fan mail recently. Please remember, include your email so that I can get back to you personally, or copy the fan mail and send me email. Now back to your regular episode.
Paul Rosenblum is a bookkeeper, not an accountant or a CPA. Although the information in this podcast comes from professionals, it's meant to give you enough knowledge about these subjects to have a meaningful dialogue with your tax preparer about bookkeeping and taxes.
It's that time of the year again, and it's time for us bookkeepers to adjust and get ready for next year. Aside from all the new laws going into effect on January 1st, and not knowing 100% yet what 1099s we're doing as compared to Venmo and PayPal, I am more anxious than I usually am. So it's as good a time as any for me to reflect on the past year before we start the next one. And don't forget, leave me a voicemail with your question. The season of Q&A is coming up very soon. I'm Paul Rosenblum. On a personal note, this has been a tough year for me. In February, a friend from college had a heart attack and passed away quickly, and 24 hours later, my favorite CPA who I work with had exactly the same fate. In June, my 98-year-old mother passed away, which was unfortunately expected, and I took very little time off from the office. 10 months later, I am still processing from February, and 5 months later, still processing my mother's passing. And like so many families, a mother or a father passing away breaks up the rest of the family, as it did my sister and I. I am also dealing with my own mortality and the need to walk away from clients in an organized manner and figure out how to move forward and trim down the clients who I like personally, who pay on time, and who respond when I ask for something, and realizing that we are on the same team. I also must think about which tax preparers I want to work with in 2026. The knife is out, being sharpened, and almost ready to cut. There are many accounting firms that just take the bottom 10% of lower paying clients and cut them. No emotion involved. But as you probably know, when I let a client go, I do have emotion. The business side of running a business is the toughest part for me personally. It's easy for me to work with struggling or small businesses to improve certain situations for them, and my suggestions have usually worked over the years. But giving myself advice and actually following through with it is the hardest part for me personally. When I was younger and I was just starting out, I had lots of energy, wanted to learn everything, and thought that I could handle the bookkeeping for all businesses of New York City. That was looked at as ambition. But if you're older and you have that attitude, it's called a God complex. Now I have less energy. I don't really want to learn a whole lot of new things in bookkeeping much anymore, and just want to do the bookkeeping for people who appreciate my efforts, email me what I ask for or what they think I need, even if I don't ask for it, or if I don't or can't have access to particular statements that I need. In other words, I just want to lower my overall stress level. As I have mentioned before, bookkeepers many times are the human punching bags of some clients and even of some tax preparers. And since it has been years of being on the receiving end for me, along with the personal losses for me this year, I have to try and change only what I can control. And in reality, I can control the amount of clients I have, the quality of clients that I have, and the companies and kinds of companies that I do bookkeeping for. I can raise prices, trim clients off my list, not work with certain tax preparers who are difficult, and even change the hours that I work. I forget sometimes that I'm the boss of me, not my department manager or the owner of the business. I am the owner of my own business here. So in December, I have always reflected about the year coming to an end. But I feel that in 2025, I'm doing more reflecting and planning for the future than I ever have. My patience is not as high with clients as it had been for years. My concentration and work stamina is not what it was when I was working 12 hours a day, every day during tax season. And my age isn't what it was 5 or 10 years ago, obviously. And now for this week's quick tax tip. The checklist that your tax preparer emails you to prepare for taxes being filed in 2026 should not be thrown away. Don't ignore it. Go through that list and gather any paperwork that applies to your situation and get everything to your tax preparer now or when it comes in the mail in January 2026. And now, back to the episode. I have a whole new set of things that I'm now being forced to think about. I'm not quite ready for semi retirement yet, and I have to plan for my financial future and my life semi out of bookkeeping. Medical insurance is still taken care of since my wife is still working full time and I'm covered on her policy. I pay the rent, she pays for health insurance. Yep, you heard that one right. Should I move to a smaller office space on the same floor in my building? As I get older, do I ever want to sell the business or the client list? And if something happens to me and I can't work for a while, who is going to call the clients and let them know and get them all of their files if they are not online with their accounting? And if I can't work, what am I going to do? This is the first episode on this podcast that I have gotten this personal about myself. And yes, it does feel very strange. And surprisingly, it is difficult to write about and hear myself saying all of this into a microphone. However, this happens to all of us in whatever business you are in. And I know that there are lots of bookkeepers listening to me right now. A bookkeeping business is somewhat unique, as many service based businesses are, because it's very hard to announce that one will retire in 3 months after tax season, for one example. In my case, 85 businesses will be scrambling for new bookkeepers, and that trust that they have in me will have to start all over again with someone new. So many of my clients, even when they have moved from New York City to another state, or even all the way to California, told me that they would like to keep me as their bookkeeper because of the relationship that they have with me, and since I work so well with their tax preparer. Being a child who got tons of bad attention from both parents and very little good attention, and even that was tainted, this is where the relationships with my clients come into play. We all like to be liked, and we all need the pat on the back sometimes, but I do admit I need it more than most. By the way, leave me fan mail. It really makes me smile, or leave me a voicemail. So, hunting clients, if I have a not so good relationship with them, is difficult since it brings back memories from my childhood. And cutting clients who I have a great relationship with will really be difficult when I get to that point. Right now, in 2025 and in the past year, I have cut several clients who can't afford to pay me regular bookkeeping rates. I am cutting clients who are slow payers, people who pay me in 3 or 4 months, even after I send them invoices every month and get no response. And I am in the process of cutting one particular tax preparer out of my life because of his moodiness, borderline abuse, and unpredictability in his behavior. So it's the end of 2025, and I reflect. I reflect on the business, the past year, the next year, and my life in general. And I'm sorry to say it again, but mortality comes into the picture as well. I also reflect on the progress of AI. How long are small business bookkeepers going to be able to stay in business? When is AI bookkeeping going to take over? Will it be a slow process or a much quicker one? No one really has that answer. So, this Thanksgiving and holiday season, I will be thankful that I still have my health. I'm still working every day. People still tell me that I don't look a day over 60, and I still can get on New York City buses without them kneeling down to get me. I am thankful that I can walk up 2 flights of stairs to the elevated subway and not feel dizzy. I can enjoy Broadway shows, and I can walk the 3/4 of a mile to the office almost every day and the 3/4 of a mile back home almost every day in less than 20 minutes, by the way. I will try and focus on the good things, and my New Year's resolutions are to continue trying to be a good human being and treating people well, trying my best to be a good bookkeeper, although mistakes will happen, and also enjoy the other part of what life has to offer. I live a pretty quiet life and will and have never been the partying type, but I am trying hard to figure out the next life chapter and the chapter after that. What are you reflecting on toward the end of 2025? Write me an email at bookkeepermensch@gmail. Hope your Thanksgiving was a good one, not too much fighting with the family, and that the flight that you took to get there and back wasn't delayed too much. Reflectively yours, Paul Rosenblum.